Hi there, welcome to the Healthy Church Staff Podcast. My name is Todd Rhoades, one of the co-founders over at chemistrystaffing.com. And we're in the middle of a brand new series. Actually, it's not a brand new series. We're ending it today. It's called When the Church Falls. It's a brand new book that I've written. It talks about how we can learn from leadership collapses. And by leadership collapses, I mean pastors that have fallen, that have screwed up, that have goofed up, that have lost their ministry in their church. What can we learn from them? What can we learn from the churches? What can we learn from the situations? I've looked at a ton of them over the past 25 or 30 years, and I've found some things that I've been talking about that I think are correlations, that a common thread that go through all of these, and that's what we're talking about. Because the goal of what we want to do is we want to be able to figure out a way that we can prevent the next collapse from happening. And if there's any way that this book or this podcast can help, even you, where you're listening or you're watching, I want to be able to do that because the truth is, and we've mentioned this on the podcast, nobody wakes up one day and decides to blow up their ministry. It just doesn't work that way. It happens a lot slower. It's a lot quieter. It's a lot more insidious. A little compromise here, a little justification, a little exception there, a growing sense. We've talked about entitlement, that you've earned to live by a different set of rules than other pastors, than other people on your staff, than even your board or your elders. And somewhere along the way, you stop asking, is this right? And you start asking, can I get away with it? Now, you might not be that overt, and your mind might play some other tricks on you that maybe don't make it sound quite that harsh, but that's essentially what it is. It's ego and it's entitlement at work, and they whisper, and they use much better language than, can I get away with it? And if you don't catch it, if you don't catch those voices early, they will win. They have won. Satan's a part of those words, and he has been victorious over many a leader that has listened to those words. All right, so we're going to talk about entitlement today. We've mentioned it, but today we're going to talk specifically about it because I think this is a huge, huge issue. And I saved it till last. Didn't want to save the best until last, but I wanted to say one of the most important things for this last installment in this series. Entitlement is ego in a ministry outfit. Let me repeat that. Entitlement, when you're a pastor, is nothing more than ego in a suit and tie, in a ministry outfit, right? It convinces you that the rules apply differently to you, that you've sacrificed a heck of a lot, and you deserve a shortcut. That's entitlement. It's that your calling somehow exempts you from kind of ordinary disciples. That you're, in politics we would say that you start to think that you're above the law, and in the pastor realm you start to think that God's going to be okay with this. That's the big lie that the enemy gives you, is that it's not really that bad. You've been working really hard. Man, you've done a lot of great things for the kingdom. Man, you've grown this church. You had 50 baptisms last week. You've been called, and somehow it's just really insidious, right? That your calling kind of exempts you from ordinary rules and disciplines. It sounds like, I work harder than anybody, man. I deserve this. Or nobody. I've heard this from people that have fallen, people that have goofed up morally and had affairs. And afterwards they say, nobody really understood the pressure that I was under. I've earned the right to be trusted without question. But friends, that is not leadership. That's self-deception dressed in spiritual language. So have you ever caught yourself thinking any of these things? I mean, honestly, yeah, you probably have. I have. But you can't listen to them. It's this slow burn. It's the slow path to something that you just don't want to be a part of. How do we do it, though? I mean, Jesus, I think, give the pat answer. How do we do it? Jesus, right? But no, Jesus gave us the example of how to lead, right? Jesus rejected everything our culture rewards. He had absolutely every right to claim power, and yet he didn't. What did he do? He washed feet, he served tables, he walked toward the suffering, he hung out with the sinners. Philippians 2 said that he made himself nothing. He made himself nothing, Jesus. The Jesus way is downward mobility, and most of us, if we're honest, we're climbing in the other direction. So how do you kill entitlement? Todd, this is all great. I've listened to every bit of this series, but it's really hard, and I get it. How do you kill entitlement before it kills you? You have to stay teachable. Okay? You're listening to this podcast. That tells me one thing. It tells me that you're open. You're teachable, right? Remain in environments where you're not the smartest person in the room. Stay accountable. Don't just have people who support you around you. Have people that challenge you as well. Stay grounded. Do ordinary things. Mow your yard, mow your lawn, wash dishes, serve in an area of your church that isn't the platform, where nobody sees. Stay grounded and stay confessional. When you catch yourself drifting, name it out loud to someone who won't let you off the hook. You've got to have that accountability. Stay confessional. The best leaders are the leaders that don't believe their own press. They know they're capable of failure. They build systems to protect against their own blind spots. They surround themselves with truth tellers, not cheerleaders. They don't confuse giftedness with godliness, and they lead like Jesus, who came not to be served, but to serve. If you were to take what I just said, those last 5 or 6 statements, and put them up against any leader that's falling or that has fallen, I can guarantee you these are the areas where they're at risk. These are the areas where they're not holding the standard. These are the areas that if you don't take care of these areas, they will take care of you. And not in a good way. Here's the bottom line for today. You are not above the disciplines. I don't care who you are. You're not above the law. You're not above the disciplines. You're not above the scripture. You're not above the things that you say apply to everybody else, but you think don't apply to you. That's ego. That's entitlement. And it will take you down if you don't take it down first. It will. It has, and it will do it again. If you're in a spot where you're fragile, or you're in a spot where you're not on solid ground, put up some of those guardrails. Listen to this podcast again. It will give you some really concrete areas. There's another way that I prepared for you. It's a little assessment over at the website, whenthechurchfalls.com. I think it's whenthechurchfalls.com/assessment. If you're a pastor or a leader, there's a 10-question assessment. It's just going to ask you some questions, how you're doing spiritually, how you're doing in some of these leadership areas. And when you click submit, it's going to take those answers and it's going to tell you honestly how you're doing. Okay. And, whether you need to really kind of hone in and make some changes right away, or you're going down a bad path, or that you're actually pretty healthy, you're doing well. So I would invite you to take that. It's absolutely free over at whenthechurchfalls.com. If you're a board member or an elder, there's also one that you can take, a 10-question assessment that will tell you how your leadership is doing, how your church is doing in this area as well. So, and I would love for you, as we close out this series, if you haven't already, I would love for you to grab a copy of the book. It would mean a lot to me for your support for this project, but it's just at the website, whenthechurchfalls.com. You can order a copy for you, copy for your board, copies for your board or your elder team or your staff. I would love it if you would do that. Okay, that wraps up our 10-part series from the book. And if you'd like to get a hold of me, if you'd like to give me some input, if you read the book and would like to give me some input, I would absolutely love to hear your critique or your criticism or your encouragement from the book. You can reach out to me at my website, todd.church is the URL, todd.church. And you'll find all the past podcast episodes there, all of my blog posts, how to get a hold of me, some of the services I can help provide your church as well through my work at chemistry. So todd.church is that URL. All right, that's it. We will be back next week. I forget what we're talking about next week. I've got it all planned out, but it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I hope you'll come back here and join me. Have a great week.